All right, guys, Mr. Galyan again here. And now we are looking at the wheel. We're making this miniature train. We're moving on. We've already done the smokestack. We've already done the train body. Now we're looking at the wheel. And the wheel is a nice one to do right after the smokestack because you're going to use a lot of the same tools. You're still going to revolve. The only difference is if you notice there's a hole in the middle of it. So you actually aren't going to revolve around this edge. You're going to have to dimension everything out a little bit away. So let's go ahead. I've already got a spot made for the wheel. Let's get ahead and get ready to go. So let's go ahead and make sketch one. First thing I'm going to do, I'm actually going to put a line right down the middle here that I can dimension everything off of. So I've got this line here, and I will dimension everything off of it. So we're going to start in this, we're going to start with a line right here. So if you can see what I'm kind of pointing at here, this line right here runs parallel to that one. So we're going to make that line and put it right here. Straight up and down, boom. Now, I want to know how far away it is from that center point, from our revolve line. And it doesn't actually tell me on this view. I have to come back here and I see that hole through the middle is 0.28 inches in diameter. So that means that I have to cut this in half. So this is actually going to be 0.14 inches away. All right, so now I've got that line done. So now let's make this line here. Well, what do I see? I see, and this is where some students will get confused, that from this center point here all the way to the revolve line is 1 inch. All right, well that's good, but I'm going to make this squared off, and then I'm going to do all my stuff. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to make that line 1 inch long from the revolve line to there. So I'm going to make this, and I'm going to dimension from the revolve line to that point is 1 inch. All right, now I'm going to ignore the arc for just a second. All right, I'm going to ignore it for a second, and I'll come back to it here momentarily. So we need to now go back this way towards the front of the wheel. So how thick is this wheel? Well, we're told right here that it's 0.25 inches thick. So I'm going to come straight down, and I'm going to come straight down and make it 0.25. This line here should also be 0.25 because it's the same thickness. All right, so now we've got that. So now I need to come back towards the center of the wheel. All right, so I got to go back towards the center of the wheel a little ways. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to head back towards the center of the wheel and then over this way, and then leave it right there for a sec. So from this point right here, you can see the point that's highlighted on my screen right there. From there, that's where my mouse is now. From there to the revolve line, well, it tells me that's 0.75 inches. So now I can dimension from there to the revolve line 0.75 inches. Now, this line right here that's still black on this, I need to know how long that little line is. Well, it tells me right here, 0.125 inches. It goes halfway. So I can click on that, 0.125. Now I can go back this way. Kind of like that. Now I need to dimension this to that midline. And it tells me that from that point right here where my mouse is, which is this line right here, okay, that line right there to the revolve line, that's right here to the revolve line, is 0.25 inches. So I select my dimension tool and I make it 0.25 inches. And then all I have to do is connect that. Now, before I do any fillets, remember, I still need to add this curve on the end. All right, I still need to add that curved part. And we know that the radius of that is 0.125 inches. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to put an arc here, here, put an arc, and then make sure it's dimensioned 0.125. Well, there you go. It already is 0.125. And then now, all I have to do with this is fillets. So all of these fillets right here, so see how it's rounded here, rounded there, rounded there, rounded there. Those are all just fillets that are 0.0625. So what I can do, choose my sketch fillet, click, change that to 0.0625. Click on that one, click on that one, click on that one, hit enter, and now I've got a part that's ready to revolve. And actually, if you want to clean this up, I like to use my trim tool and just get rid of this line here. Just to clean it up a little bit. But now I'm ready to revolve this thing around that center line. So now I can do that. I can go up here, select my revolve tool. It asks me what I want to revolve. I want to revolve that. Then I come over here and select axis. And this was that revolve line that I made. Select it, and now I'm looking at part of my wheel. So cool. Now, there's two other parts that go with this wheel. There's this little peg that sticks out, and there's these holes in the back. I'm going to start with the holes in the back. Don't know why, it's just what I always do. So I'm going to start with them. So let's look at the back of this wheel. Now, we need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of these kind of angled cuts here. And here's the best way to do it. So if you look at our dimensions, it tells us a little bit. This 0.28 just tells us the size of the hole. We've already used that. So you could almost take that one out. All right, get rid of that. Now, we're just left with these other dimensions here. Well, this one here is telling us what this is. From here to here. So from the center point to there is 0.375, which means it's also 0.375 from the center point to here, and to here, and to here, like that. Right? This one is telling us to the outer edge. Like that, and that, and that is 0.625. So, how do we do that? Well, I like to put a sketch back here, and I like to make one small circle and one bigger circle. The big one has a radius of 0.625, so the diameter is going to be double that. The smaller one has a radius of 0.375, so the diameter is going to be half of that. 375 times 2, or double that, sorry. So now I've got kind of an inner circle and an outer circle. But I don't want circles, right? I want wedges. But now I've used that dimension, that dimension, that dimension. I'm done with all of them. All I need left is here. This tells me that each of these holes is 30 degrees, like the side of the hole is 30 degrees away from the other side. And that each hole is 30 degrees apart. And that it's 15 degrees off of horizontal. So, what am I going to do? I'm going to use my line tool. And I'm going to make two lines. 1, 2. And I'm going to dimension them to be 30 degrees apart. Okay, so I've now used this one here. I need to know that they need to be 15 degrees off of horizontal. So I'm going to dimension this line to this. Now, what have I got right here where my mouse is? Well, I've got one of those little holes that I need. All I have to do is use my scissors and remove everything I don't need. And I am left with just that hole that I need. Now, to make sure that it's equally spaced, I'm going to use the circular pattern tool to make sure that they're all 30 degrees apart. So I come up here, select circular pattern. I'm going to select each of the parts. I'm going to make sure that this square is in the middle, if it wasn't already. And then I need 6 of those, so I need to change the 3 times to 6. And now it made that pattern, and I can see it on the other side. It looks good too. And now I can extrude those. Cut them out. Boom. Now I've got those holes cut. And you can fillet those holes if you want to clean them up a little bit. A lot of people do. It doesn't actually tell you to do it, but a lot of people like to fillet them just so it doesn't have such a hard edge. It's really up to you. I don't recommend filleting these on the back because, again, if you're going to 3D print, it can mess it up a little bit, but on the front is going to be fine. Now, last part, we need this peg. All right, so we need this peg right here. And there's a number of different ways to do this. But again, I found the easiest is now we're looking at the front of this again. We're going to put a sketch, and we're going to select here, like on this face right here. All right, so select that face. Now, what this essentially is it's a circle that's extruded, and then a smaller circle that gets extruded, and then a tiny circle that gets removed back in. That's all that really is. So the first circle, what we're going to look at is this bigger one is 0.25 inches in diameter. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to put a circle. Let me look at this cleanly here. I'm going to put a circle, and it really doesn't matter where on the wheel you put it. I'm going to put it there for now. And I'm going to make it 0.25 inches in diameter. And the one thing that you do need to make sure of is that it doesn't sit on top of one of these holes. That's all you really need to make sure of. It can't overlap one of these holes. And it is 0.7 inches away from this center point where we revolved everything around. So 0.7. And you'll notice it kind of cuts into the edge of the tire. That's perfectly fine. That's okay. It should be like that. All right, so there's our circle. Now, we can finish that sketch. We need to extrude it. So we need to extrude this kind of fat part of the circle here, which is just, all of this right here is going to be extruded. And it's 0.375. So I'm going to hit extrude, and I'm going to extrude sketch 3, 0.375. And again, talked about this earlier, make sure it's still on add. Don't click on new, make sure you're still on add. And so it'll stay the same color as it comes out here. So there it is at 0.375. All right, looks good. All right, now we need a smaller circle within it that has a diameter of 0.125. So now I'm going to put another sketch here, and I'm going to select circle, and I'm going to make sure I'm at the midpoint of this one, and I'm going to make one that is 0.125. Okay, now it gets extruded out 0.125 inches extrude. So I'm going to select extrude, select sketch 4, make sure it comes 0.125. All right, last part here. All right, last part, we're going to cut a hole that goes in it. So the diameter of the last circle is 0.0625 inches, and the depth of the hole is 0.25. So the last thing I'm going to do, put a sketch right here. Again, it needs to be centered, and it needs to be 0.0625 inches. And then when I extrude it, I'm going to now remove, because I'm cutting a hole, and I believe it was 0.25 is the depth. And now you can see it cut a hole in there where our pin is going to go. So there you go. That is your wheel. Quick and fast on that.